If a stranger wandered into your home, would you forgive them? Once there lived a man who lived in a large, bustling town, which was situated somewhat solitarily. While the people lived happy and fulfilling lives, it was in quite an isolated position, surrounded by harsh mountains and dense forests, which meant it was rare that people moved to or from the town. They were happy, but many often itched for a slice of adventure and magic, something that couldn't be found in a quaint and contented town. This is where the man fits in, for he was a storyteller, not unlike myself, except his stories were told through art, ink on parchment, but in a way where no words were needed. His craft was so skilled that it seemed these simple lines, with a little imagination, could come alive. Like they could dance along the plain and spell out a story to anyone with a desire to read it. Which many of them did. His works told stories of magical creatures, epic heroes, and adventures both grand and grounded. This was something he felt the town was missing. That suspense and uncertainty that can only be felt through stories. And it seemed its people agreed. His work was loved by many in the town who yearned for a little edge in their comfort, who craved a little pepper in their pots. Though there were also many who didn't quite get it. They didn't see the appeal in his slashes of ink, and that's okay. I'm sure they can find magic in other things. Perhaps they prefer a little sugar in their tea. The man was the same. He had his own tastes. While he expressed and translated the magic he felt into his art, he sought it from elsewhere. He finds his magic deep in the darkest depths of the forest. Or that's what I would say if this story were a little more like the man's stories. A little edgier, a little peppery. In actuality, there was a lighter wood, separate from the rest of the forest, which a few of the townsfolk liked to walk through to refresh themselves with some greenery. And the man was no different. But he noticed that this small number of people who enjoyed the wood was getting fewer and fewer. It became rare for him to see anyone else there, much in the man's favour as he preferred the paths less taken. His objective in rambling through the woods wasn't for some light exercise, fresh air, or a daily task to tick off. He went there to experience the woods, to see how each individual insect, every bird, lives their lives, to see what they see, to breathe as one with the woods, in unison. It's here, in this symphony of life. That's where he finds his magic. On one occasion, when the man was wandering through the woods he loved, he was overwhelmed by its vibrancy. The sunlight seared through the leaves, kissing the earth with warm, star-like shapes, and illuminated the canopy like a green and golden moon. The whole wood looked like a wonderful mess. Beautiful chaos. Old paths appeared swallowed by a flood of leaves, and the songs of sparrows, robins, and thrushes lulled the man along the path, where catching his eye, like sparkling under a spotlight, was a leaf. A leaf that shone so bright, as if gifted light from the sun itself. It was just a leaf, surrounded by many other very similar leaves. But this one leaf, in this one singular moment, was all of beauty to the man. He was glad to be there in that second. As if with gratitude, the man graciously took the leaf between his thumb and finger, feeling the warmth the sun had gifted it, and it gently came off the branch, as if becoming a gift itself. The man felt unworthy of such a gift, and allowed the leaf to float softly to the floor, to join the fallen litter. This is where the man was met by a dragonfly, coated with greens, blues, and black, as if painted in the colours of the woodland sky. It raced up the path and stopped as if to greet the man's knee, then proceeded to dance among the glowing leaves and the glitter of speck-like flies, briefly grasping what little light they could. It then sped back down the path, stopping to dance at steps along the way, as if guiding the man through. Soon, the dragonfly's deep buzzing joined the choir as the man found himself in a cacophony of insects. Bees, flies, beetles, and wasps all melodiously played their parts as they flew between the berry-blessed bushes and brambles. He waded his way through the wash of leafage to continue down the path before him. But off to one side, as if peering round the tangle of branches, was another route, a way he had not seen before. Despite his artwork, he was very much a creature of habit and did not yearn for adventure, so he was quite happy to stick to the paths he knew. Yet he couldn't look away. His body refused to allow him to tread his trusted trail, as he glared intently down the new path towards a place he could not see. As if being pulled along, hardly thinking, he headed past the moss-covered tree stump that marked its entrance, and followed the new-formed path. A cold chill pierced through his clothes and latched to his skin, and trepidation tacked itself to the man's mind with every step he took. He should not have come this way. Yet still he tread deeper. He kept fighting for reasons to keep walking. No story ever started with, and he kept doing the same thing he'd done every day. It's in these impulsive, out-of-character decisions. That's where stories are made. And yet his reasons dwindled. As his last excuse came to pass, he found himself away from the thorns of untamed branches, and in a much more open space. A place where might had failed, where felled and fallen trees lay strewn and scattered along the ground like headstones, enwrapped in layers of moss and lichen. But the canopy remained mostly intact, sealing them away like a coffin. A branch of one such remnant of might, that was seemingly unwilling to fall without a fight, and still unable to fully rest, had gouged a hole in the canopy, where perched at the end was a raven. Bearded and formidable, it pinned a single eye to the man like a sentinel, guarding its fallen kings. This was a graveyard. And it was beautiful. The moss blanketed the ground with a radiance and a vibrancy he thought only the sun could provide. Lichen painted such delicate and exquisite silver detailing to a finer point than any brush, and ivy, in a multitude of colours, draped along the mighty trunks like flowery wreaths. Even in a place of death, life will continue to thrive. A perfect tribute to a noble reign. With this, the raven turned its eye away, yet still the man felt a presence. He still felt as if he was being watched. However, he wasn't frightened. It seems his previous perturbation had long passed, and he was hurried down the path with much greater force and urgency, for he knew not how or why. As he ventured through the woods, he continued to admire the foliage and its infinite shades of green, hardly noticing how far he had travelled and the impossible length of the path before him. He knew this wood well, and it could not have fit a route of this distance, especially one that could go unnoticed. Although this thought had entered his mind, it was of little importance. We can only ever be where we are right now, and he knew this. And the only way he could go was forward. He saw no point in fretting over how and why. There's nothing that can be done. So he might as well enjoy the path he's on. So on he went. On towards the ever-darkening sky. The man arrived at what appeared to be the end of the path and stopped, staring out into the vast open glade before him. Surrounded by a rampart of beech and pine, there were no flowers in the glade, only grass. And the bombarding rain barraging from the stormy, thundering clouds above. he noticed on the other side of the clearing a small opening in the bastion of trees where the path seemed to continue. Is this where he was to go? Was he to trudge through the storm? The man was unfazed by this possibility. He simply stood and watched the rain as it battered down on the ground. He watched the leaves on the edge bob as drops plopped and rolled down from leaf to leaf. He watched as he noticed that all the leaves did this along the stretch of trees, and how together their bobs were like a shimmering murmuration. He stood as the shushing of the wind and rain washed away the thoughts from his mind, and the bass of the thunder quelled the weights in his heart. After a little while, and the man had returned from his state of soft focus and presentness, he thought it was time to head on through and meet the path that continued on the other end of the glade. Except nothing happened. There was no force to push him along as before, no watchful presence. So the man turned around and he was back at the start of the path, with the sunlight searing through the leaves, as if the rains were never there. He walked forward, back towards his trusted trail and the route home. As the man walked past the mossy tree stump, he noticed, from the corner of his eye, that squatting atop it was a short, human-like creature. As if in slow motion, their eyes met and mirrored each other with an expression of equal confusion. A further while passed, as the pair stared at each other in bewilderment, until the man stuttered in an attempt to question the creature. "I am a hobgoblin," it confessed. "A guardian of the wood." Woodland hobgoblins are creatures born of angered and betrayed spirits of trees that had been felled by man. They protect the woods from humans by luring them down magical pathways in a plane separate from reality, where they are to wander in misery for eternity. This all needed explaining to the man, though he did not discover this until long after this story. "I serve to care for and raise the woods, and heal it from the scars of humans. I do not know why you can see me. You are not like the others. You defiled the wood, so I sentenced you to the path. But I saw no malice in you. Your gaze was unhuman. I did not know there were humans who lacked destruction. So I released you. Perhaps my judgment was too swift. The man took a sharp inhalation in preparation to interrupt the hobgoblin, to explain that not all people want to harm the woods. Many love it. It is of a level of beauty that humanity could only dream to fall short of. But before a single breath could pass through his lips, it vanished. As the man slowly retraced the road back home, recounting the events that had passed, he questioned whether or not he should tell this story. It was far too fantastical to believe it had actually happened, yet not fantastical enough to be exciting. Would the magic he felt even reach them? Would it come through in his art? Perhaps for now, he thought. It wasn't his story to tell. Besides, not all events that happen to us, no matter how powerful and influential, are stories to be shared. Sometimes they're meant just for us. A gift for us to treasure.